at JLL. Lady and gentlemen, thanks a lot for joining us. Pavitra, I want to start with you. If you can just, give us the situation at hand. How much have raw material prices gone up? And has it escalated so much that realtors are looking to sort of halt construction for the time being?
Hi, good morning. The situation today is quite stark when you actually see the rise in input costs for construction. Steel, for example, just 12 to 18 months ago was around 38,000 rupees or 40,000 rupees a ton. Today, that is the value of scrap. And the final product is actually 80,000 to 82,000 rupees a ton. So considering that we use steel in almost every aspect of construction, it is part of all of our equipment like transformers, DG sets, and so on. This certainly has a big impact. Even on the price of cement, raw materials like copper, aluminum, petroleum itself, which has an impact on other goods like tiles and UPVC doors and so on, and paint, example. So all of these have quite a large cost push effect for us. I would say today the overall impact is at least 10% on our construction costs, and we are not really sure where this is going to head. It could potentially rise. This isn't even taking into account the increase in petroleum prices over the last 2 days. So I think most developers are trying to figure out how to handle the situation. I don't know that we are in a position to stop construction. I don't think that would be something that we would consider here at Brigade, but it is certainly a challenge for the industry at large.
No, got that. Thanks for joining in, Pavitra and Aditya. Aditya, what CREDA is saying, do you think it is feasible? Is it a bit of a threat? If it is a threat, I mean, to what end? Some of what is happening in terms of prices going up is in no one's control. Maybe some of it is oil, etc. But again, I mean, it is deregulated now. So how should we read this? This statement from CREDA, the realtors are planning to stop construction work.
Well, morning, and thank you, Prashant, for having me here. Greetings, Pavitra. Delighted to see you today. Who better than you for this discussion? Prashant, coming to your question, and yes, this article has drawn in quite a bit of concern. As Pavitra rightly mentioned, this is a reality. And if we really see the overall project development and the project cost, almost materials account to close to 60% of this total construction cost. And we have been seeing this material increase randomly. Now, this is beyond the contingency and inflation anticipated during the planning stage. And hence, what CREDA has put forward is something which is true, that there has been a cost overrun on most of the projects. The projects have been delayed in last 2 years due to COVID, and the current geopolitical scenarios is also leading to impacts around this. This, while it is a concern, but we all together need to read it in the aspect of how we can really optimize this project cost and the construction. But really stopping of projects or getting projects to a halt would not be the scenario, is what I possibly think in that order. We should look at how we can optimize cost, and these can happen by proper planning and strategizing and the right procurement strategy, having prefab as well as technology, getting it involved.
I guess it's also not fair to I guess it's not fair to stop projects, even for the end user, right? I mean, in any case, 2 years were lost in the pandemic. A lot of projects were put on hold because of the lockdown. So now,
by law now you can't, right? RERA, you have to deliver projects. I mean, you can't suddenly stop once construction has started.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely, I take your point. Pavitra, the other issue is for under construction properties that you've already sold, right? What do you do then? I mean, you can't suddenly go ahead and raise costs there despite your own raw material costs surging. What is the way out of that situation? And will you see losses because you can't pass on the costs there?
Yeah, absolutely on point. It's quite a tough situation. The other thing that I didn't mention is that for the past 3 years, everybody in the industry has not got the benefit of the input tax credit, which was straight away an 18% cost on construction that we've just had to bear and take on as part of the project cost itself. I would say over the last 5 years, since demonetization, the industry hasn't really been able to pass on cost to that extent. The pricing has not really been able to increase for the customer. For the most part, for under construction projects, we may still be able to take up prices for the remaining inventory that is left to be sold, but that certainly depends project to project. I think what needs to happen is, again, like what Aditya mentioned, we have to look at how can we become more efficient in terms of the production itself, and where can we do some kind of value engineering where we can try and protect the margins. Going forward, we are actually looking at doing a price increase because I think on the customer side, there is the ability to absorb a pricing increase. As I mentioned earlier, the real price increase in real estate has not necessarily increased very much. And today, the situation is that affordability is at a great level, given interest rates, salary growth for IT professionals and other salary professionals. So I think that is sort of the way forward, if it is possible to push some kind of price increase for under construction and newly launched projects.
And you're saying that you are looking at it, right? I mean, this would be across your portfolio? And what kind of price increase?
So, it's difficult to say what exactly will work. In the end, it is the demand side that accepts a price increase or not. We may try to push for a smaller price increase in the beginning, like a 3 to 4% price increase. And then we'll have to see how it is accepted and goes forward. But as I mentioned earlier, the affordability on the real estate sector is good. The outlook for the residential demand is great, in my opinion, and many others in the industry. And we feel that the sector is due for an upturn. The question is just about how do you try to protect the margins in this environment. Another point that I want to mention is at least 30 to 35% of the end cost to the consumer is taxes, direct or indirect taxes. And this is, by way of stamp duty, registration, taxes on fuel, etc. 50% of the fuel cost is taxes. So all of that, there is a chance for the government also to do something about that price increase, in my opinion.
I'm glad you brought that point out, because there's now this metro tax as well, right? On property purchases, there's a metro cess on in a lot of places, whether it's Mumbai, Pune, Nagpur, etc. Has that hurt demand in any way?
Since we don't have a portfolio in Maharashtra, so fortunately that has not impacted us. But I would say in general, the taxation environment on real estate is quite high. And in the end, it is not a tax. The loss of the input tax rate that I mentioned earlier is not something that developers have been able to pass on to the end customer either, given the pricing environment over the last few years. So I think most of us would be looking at how do we try to protect our margins in that situation. GST on real estate for the customer reduced from 12% of the agreement value to 5%. So that's another aspect of where there is some affordability to absorb price increases.
The story so far with real estate has been great affordability and demand, which is super, super strong. So Aditya, as Pavitra said, obviously, any producer will be cautious in taking price increases. So you start small and then you go on. But what is your sense? In terms of price increases, which are the markets which will be the most able to take price increases, in your opinion, Aditya?
So a great question again, and the current positioning might see an impact on pricing. And Pavitra very rightly mentioned that as of now, developers and investors have really been able to brace the impact of the rising prices, but the escalating costs are so high that unfortunately this will have to definitely pass on to the home buyers. We have already started seeing this for new developments with some prominent developers, and Mumbai is one location, to your question, where the price increases would be visible, and some micro markets are also seeing this rise already. Also, locations like Hyderabad and Bangalore, including Delhi, would see this price increases. This price increases possibly would come or start coming in rampantly towards the end of the last quarter this year or start of H2 this year. But this would have to be seen. At this point, the demand is very, very good, and as we say, it is all affordable synergies which is driving this demand. So price increase is on cards, and I think I would agree with what Pavitra mentioned.
All right. Thanks a lot for joining us. But thanks both of you, Aditya and Pavitra. Very helpful there. So definitely higher raw material costs hitting the real estate sector. Perhaps some of them finding it tough to, for the projects to continue because of how much the costs have gone up, and they can't just pass it on. But nevertheless, demand is strong, so that seems to be the silver lining there. Let's slip into a short break. Prakash Gaba will join in next for some technical trades. Stay with us.